Hi, Jared.
How you doing, Ken?
Good, good.
Are you, by the way, we're doing this, the expungement clinic that we're going to do. Are you going to be present there or you don't know yet?
Oh, no, I plan to be there. Yeah, I plan to be
Okay.
in one of
All
the
right.
panels.
Good. Awesome. Very cool.
I'll be streaming it, but okay.
Oh, you're going to be there too?
Yeah, I'll be there streaming it.
Okay. Let's see. It starts at noon. So, all right. I've never actually been to this particular location before. How do I find uh, the right room, the right building, all that? I just want to make sure so I don't like make an ass of myself.
Nick, you were just there, right?
Yeah, it's called it's the event center. Um, go on Raritan Valley Community College website and look for
Okay.
the event center. It's a beautiful campus. I did a site walk recently, and it was really nice. I'm
All right,
going
this
to
is their website. Okay. And I just look for event center.
Yeah, event center, student center, etc. Let me go to.
Oops. I'm on the website right now. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. It's there. I promise.
There's probably signs when you come in too about where to go.
University Center, is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here, okay, good. I'm now on YouTube, and I see it's working just fine.
Okay.
I got to make a little adjustment here and there, but for next time. But for right now, I think I have it functioning. So I'm making progress at least.
Good. Are you going to be doing expungements, Jared?
I intend to.
Oh, good, good. Excellent.
I'm assuming. Do I need to bring my own laptop for this, or they have computers there that we're going to use? I don't really know.
As an emergency backup, bring it.
Yeah,
All right,
I would
okay.
bring it. Yeah.
I'm bringing this is my work laptop though. I have to like be careful with this. So
there's going to be 2 classrooms. There's going to be 1 intake room, and then 2 classrooms where the expungements will start to take place. And then there's a meeting room where the panel and speakers are going to take place as well, and also the vendors as well.
there's going to be vendors there. So what kind of like? I'm just curious to know because I didn't know about it.
Michelle shows up tonight. She'll be able to tell you who's signed up so far.
Oh, these are Michelle's people. Okay, all right. Because I mean, I like her. I mean, I trust her judgment. She knows what people to invite. So, yeah.
Yeah. I also invited a friend and colleague who's part of this called virtualmoon.space. I'm going to bring someone who has virtual reality classes, and for fun, as an aside, you'll be able to put them on and walk on the moon, literally walk on the moon and perspective for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's really cool. The Apollo 11 lunar landing. I've done it myself, and it's just transformative.
I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. I know I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, it's good to see you in person too.
Yeah, man. I feel bad that the thing we were planning fell through. Like that, I would have really enjoyed doing that. But
yeah, the TV studio went defunct, and now it's under a new name. And I tried very much. I used it just a couple weeks ago, and it was horrible. What a difference from the old studio to the new studio. They basically know nothing at the Central New Jersey Network. The people who run it.
Nobody wants to invest in quality anymore.
No one wants to learn anything.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, the Princeton Community TV Studio. That
Oh,
was
Yeah,
really
nice.
it was
nice.
very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So nobody's using that now. That space, Nick.
It's barely being used, and they charge a lot of money to rent it. I mean, it's $130 for 2 hours. And when I asked if we could use Zoom, we can Zoom in some of our colleagues from the Azores. They don't know how to connect Zoom to ATEM. They have a laptop in the studio and they don't know how to connect it to the video mixer, which boggles my mind. You know, it drives me up an effing wall that they don't know how to do that.
That seems like a pretty basic aspect of the job. Like, how do you not know that?
Hello?
Yeah.
That would be like me not knowing how to, like, I don't know, write a motion to dismiss or something. I don't know.
Hello?
Like you can't just take the 5 minutes it would take to like Google search how to do the thing. Like that's what I do most of the time. If there's a question that somebody asks me that I don't know, I go to either Google or Yahoo or sometimes DuckDuckGo. I look it up there. I cobble together what I can and be like, all right, off the cuff answer, here it is.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is it? Come on. Oh man.
Maybe you spoke to the wrong person, Nick.
No, unfortunately, the guy in charge was the one who was there that day, and I kept asking him, "Do you have an outlet near the desk here?" No outlet. Can I move the camera if we ever got an audience? It's a fairly large, a lot of real estate in the studio, so you can actually have an audience in there. But oh no, they have the cameras all taped down, and so they can't move them.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
Hmm.
So I'm very disappointed, obviously. Ken, what do you think of the YouTube? Are you looking at it?
No.
Why
Hold
don't
on.
you take a peek? And the placement of the one graphic I got to work on next time, but at least it finally works. At least I can do this
So
meeting.
let's see. What do I have to go to see the one?
CMMNJ.
That's where I am. I'm at
Okay,
YouTube
go to live.
Live. Your channel, history, playlist, your videos, your movies, watch
Your
later.
videos.
Huh?
Go to your videos. You should get a live link.
Your channel.
Okay.
No, this is Ken Walski.
Yeah, Ken, you're live on Facebook.
Good.
I'm live on Facebook too.
Yeah, like I said, you're on Facebook and YouTube, and it's being recorded to both and streamed to both.
Oh yes. All right. I see it on Facebook.
Good. So all your friends, colleagues will be able to now join our meeting without having to use Zoom if they don't want to.
Yeah, but I can't. I don't see the YouTube version.
Okay, I'm watching it on my smart TV right now.
History.
Just put in the search bar CMMNJ live and see if that comes up that way.
No.
Oh man. Well, I want to say that I promise you that it's up and running and everyone looks great.
Okay. All right. Great. Oh, I'm not going to worry about it now.
No.
So, Lenora is here. Nora, I just want to thank you, especially for all the help you were at Asbury Park. Being there without other people was really tough. And it was a long day too. It went from like I had to get there at 9 o'clock in the morning or so, I think, for setup, and then it went on till 5 o'clock or so. So without Nora there, it really would have been a almost impossible day, quite frankly. And Nora also, I mean, it was also, I mean, taking the tent down when you suggested was very important too, because the wind really picked up, and could have been a disaster. Could have been a disaster without you. Now you're muted if you wanted to say anything, Nora. Nora.
I'm trying to unmute myself, but
There you go. Yeah. No, okay, we hear you now.
oh, okay. Yeah, well, listen, it was really a fun day. I love seeing all those people flying their freak flags and having a good time.
Yeah, it is quite an experience being there, I must say. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy being there.
I know, I just wish I could have given Mrs. Alito a tour, but
Huh.
I didn't get a chance.
Okay, no, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm not supposed to laugh at that joke. We're only,
Why everybody's laughing?
at this point, like we live, just the daily headlines have gotten so absurd that it's like you can't write a parody of this stuff. Like, okay, Ken, I actually do want your take on this. The Hunter Biden conviction, okay? Hunter Biden was convicted under the same law that makes it illegal for medical cannabis patients to own a firearm. Now, if he appeals that case to where I'm assuming it's going to be first the where was he convicted? Yeah, probably third Circuit Court of Appeals and then Supreme Court. Okay, well, if he appeals that, then that opens the door to medical cannabis patients being able to own firearms under the federal National Firearms Act of 1968. But it also opens the door for people like domestic abusers and so forth to be packing heat. So I don't know how to feel about any of this. Okay, like I'm not like a big gun guy. I'm not anti-firearm ownership, but I also think it's kind of in poor taste to be walking around packing heat all the time. So I don't know. I don't know where I am on this. I got nothing else for you. I don't know.
Well, that's an interesting question. I when I was a teenager, I was a gun lover. I was a big hunter. I was a
Yeah.
champion marksman. I was a
Very
skeet
cool.
shooter. I really loved guns.
Yeah.
I loved to go hunting and all. But then I killed
I
the wrong animal one time, and I just stopped hunting
oh
altogether. So
yeah, I never actually I didn't go hunting. I did do when I was in the Boy Scouts, I did firearm training and certification, which was
uh,
fun. You're out there on the range all day. I mean, whatever. Like it's fine if you enjoy that, but like I don't know. I got medically rejected for military service. So, which actually might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. So I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, well, I was all set to go into the Marines, but then I became an anti-war activist, so that never happened. And I got a student deferment for 4 years
Yeah.
studying philosophy. So because it was just an absurd thing to study, but it just kept me out of the draft.
Yeah, my dad was trying to, my dad and my uncle both served in Vietnam because they couldn't keep getting the student deferments. My dad graduated from college and got his draft notice like the week afterwards.
Yeah, I
So
actually got
he was kind of
yeah,
screwed. So
yeah.
yeah.
I actually got when I graduated from Mercer County Community College in 1969, the first time, and immediately I wasn't accepted into a 4-year school then, and so I immediately got my notice to appear for my physical, and they say if you don't appear for your physical, it's going to be a federal offense. So I said, screw it, I'm not going, and I didn't appear for my physical. That was my big protest there, and I immediately scrambled over to Rutgers and said, "Hey, I need to go here to finish my degree." And they accepted me. And then by the time the federal government came looking for me for not going to my physical, I was already accepted into Rutgers.
You're very lucky. Because they probably
Yeah.
could have prosecuted you for that. Although I don't know how many people actually got prosecuted for like failure to appear for that kind of thing. I don't know how many people like they really collared for that.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So anyway, but about the guns, I always think, I mean, I think it's so absurd to say you can't have a gun if you're, using an illegal drug, but you can have it if you're using alcohol, all the alcohol you want. I mean, to me, that is a far more dangerous substance to be
Oh
to
yeah.
be used,
Oh, of course.
and associated with firearms than marijuana, for God's sake. But anyway, I don't make the rules.
I would say that for everybody who says, oh no, Schedule 3, big pharma and everybody, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Schedule 3 for cannabis, if that is in the cards, would certainly open the door to registered patients or anybody state-sanctioned patients to being able to own a gun, because it would no longer be a Schedule 1 dangerous narcotic with no known medical use. It would be a Schedule 3 drug, by definition far less harmful than all Schedule 2 drugs, which none of them
Yeah.
preclude you. So there's
That's a good, that's a good point.
there's all sorts of things. People just jumped on Schedule 3. It should be should be, yeah, and everybody should love one another. But while we're waiting,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen automatically, though. I would think.
yeah, we don't have to. It'll be out of our hands how and when it happens. So I wouldn't waste too much brain power on what might happen. Just more or less.
Yeah,
when,
but
when it
think
all has, we can make a comment to make it. But
yeah, I think because I might be wrong about this, but I think it would need like some kind of regulatory amendment from the ATF or something. I don't know. I have to go back and look at my Form 4473
well,
here.
yeah,
So I don't know.
whatever the law is, it was based on it being a Schedule 1 drug, and that can certainly then be changed afterwards. And yes, it'll take time, but it's a lot of good's going to come from that, and beyond the fact that you can study it, and beyond the fact that really poor people on Medicaid may now have a shot at it. And as soon as the state starts paying
Yeah.
for it through their Medicaid program, PAD program, homegrown is going to start to look pretty damn good to them then.
You think
now
so?
we're paying for it? Well, let's talk about that homegrown bill.
Hi, Abby.
Oh.
Sounds like
Hi, how are you?
sounds like the kids are there too.
Hey,
Yeah. Okay. I'm going on mute. I'm on my phone.
oh,
So, well, that's a good question to me. Even though it's a Schedule 2 drug, if you don't have or a Schedule 3 drug, if you don't have a doctor's specific recommendation for it, are you still using it as an illegal substance? And, would you still be barred from being a gun owner, unless you had an absolute prescription for it? I mean, it should be available by prescription. By the time it's available by prescription, it's going to be, I don't know, another decade.
Yeah, well, it's all about me. So since I'm a Medicaid patient, that's my concern. That's not all about me, you know that. It's just that I'd like to see how that works. Not to mention one more visit to the Division of Consumer Affairs after Schedule 3, or even beforehand, and say, hey, listen, why don't you start preparing for it now? So when it turns Schedule 3, you can hop right on board. But I just point out things that are right with Schedule 3, because I was amazed at how little time anybody stopped to smell that rose before cutting into it, like it was the worst thing to ever happen in some cases. And in some cases, like, we should just wait till it's descheduled. And I feel like ripping somebody a new one when they say that, because like they're obviously not a patient in pain and have that kind of time. That really ticks me off. We should just wait. Well, okay, you wait while we get this done.
Yeah, and I don't think anything's going to happen soon. I mean,
No.
I'm convinced that the DEA is going to fight this as hard and as long as they can.
They are, but they're trying to do it behind the scenes as much as they can. If they piss off the FDA more than they should, the FDA's answer is going to count more than anybody's, because it's like, well, there aren't any FDA approved tests, is why we're not releasing marijuana for the study is what the DEA would say. And they even denied giving the federal marijuana to an FDA approved test that was going to study combat veterans returning with diagnosed PTSD in a study, and they refused, saying it would jeopardize the supply for more legitimate study. Now that's some balls there, you know. So anyway, after all that, even they're going to have to actually realize when it's time to let go of the rope because they got nothing. You know, if they want to have any credibility in a world where government agencies are already losing credibility, whether they deserve it or not, left and right. So somebody basically diving into lack of credibility head first, you know, that would certainly call their common sense in the question, or, you know, anyway.
And the FDA, I mean, the FDA approved that study or the proposal to grow marijuana at the University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Yeah.
And they had a, you know, institutional review board approved it, the FDA approved it, and then the DEA came by and examined the property and said, oh no, you know, you can't grow it here.
And then that gave them more time to say, we reject your study for medical efficacy because it would jeopardize the supply for more legitimate studies. They got to keep on doing that by, you know, Fox, Penthouse, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But the argument will be more fun the more serious talks are. And actually, since the request for a review actually is already been a half year old now, we didn't hear shit about it. I'm sorry, we didn't hear nothing about it until like 6 weeks ago, but it is already now at the 6 month date, which is the average time for acting on this. So now the longer they go, the more somebody should ask them, why is it taking longer when it is actually about as clear as could be? You know, so you know, it's a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and it's never, nothing ever happens fast enough for me. So, you know, whatever it is, but it
Well,
doesn't.
comments to the DEA have to be in on this proposal by July 22nd. So,
for the actual reschedule.
Yes.
That's the deadline for the comments
Yes,
on that?
July.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to submit one or not. I'm not sure.
No, I routinely do. Anyway, so I mean, it's not that hard. I just go back and look at some of the old comments that I submitted already and just freshen them up a little bit.
Like voting, though, you know, I mean, submitting it is like voting to get a certain number of comments for and against. Somebody's keeping record right there. So, I mean, if we bother to go vote and where our votes never changed one election ever in the history of voting, our voting, I mean, has anybody? I'm just saying I vote for the reason that I feel it's a responsibility. And I also think it's a responsibility to take time to offer a comment too. I mean, if we're doing everything else, why not do the easy stuff, whether it matters or not? You know, it just seems like a response to me. I'm not saying it to anybody else, but look what I got flying behind me right there. Medical marijuana for MS, the first medical cannabis sign ever made for New Jersey medical cannabis in March of 1993. So I saw that and I thought I want to hang it up and look at it. I had so little idea, me, the sign man, so little idea how to make a sign. I took some cardboard from a cardboard box and I spray painted, real carefully spray painted medical marijuana for MS. Then I realized after actually putting it on the chair to walk it all the way across the state of New Jersey that I couldn't read it myself real well at a distance, and thought, wow, maybe I better stop at this drugstore and buy some sort of magic marker to outline it. And then that worked well. And somewhere I had some yellow, something else on the outside. But I just sort of put that up because I'm tired of making signs. I'm tired of being an advocate. I am what's called a tireless advocate. You don't hear about them. I think there's quite a few of them around besides me. And I want it to be over. And for me, it's over when one thing happens in particular, and that's medical cannabis home grow rights for patients. And then I wish to spend the rest of my natural born life applauding other people's efforts to do anything further than that. So it's all about me. I want to be done. That's why I got that sign hanging up right now. I'm done.
Can CMMNJ place a statement with multiple signatures? Lenora asks in the chat. Um, so we could make a statement coming from CMMNJ itself and representing the organization on either rescheduling or descheduling. Obviously, we support um, rescheduling to Schedule 3, but that's an inadequate solution, and it's much more important to deschedule it completely. And I think that that's where my arguments are going to go. That it's so we'd have to agree that the board would have to get together and agree that that was the where we want to go with our with a comment from CMMNJ that do we support or do we oppose rescheduling because we support descheduling completely, or do we support it and we also want marijuana to be descheduled completely from the and removed from the Controlled Substances Act?
Which would mean leaving it in Schedule 1 for as long as that would take. I
Yeah.
vote no. There.
Yeah.
I mean, we
That's-
could say something.
wait one day
also.
longer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I actually agree with Jim on this. Like it's, it's better, rescheduling is better than nothing at all. I think is a fair position. We can distinguish between like the minimalist and maximalist demand here and basically say, look, we support this action of rescheduling cannabis to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. That being said, we believe that it is necessary or that it will be necessary for Congress to speak to the issue more directly by crafting legislation that would deal specifically with the topics of medical cannabis and interstate commerce in adult use cannabis at the very least,
That
or
gets
something
done.
like that. I'm just brainstorming here. I'm saying
No,
this
but
is the
that
route
gets
we can
done.
go.
That does get done all the time. You see it happen, especially with Jay Connick's law, how somebody like Republican Assemblyman Jim DeMayo would say, get to speak, and he would say, this bill is horrendous. It has and still includes a sales tax on medical cannabis. I've authored a bill to get rid of the sales tax on cannabis entirely. This bill going to phase it out. They're not even going to get rid of it. So while I rise and protest to that, I feel that the bill would do more good than harm. So I will be voting yes. Oh, see, he got to speak against it on record and yet still vote yes. But that was more political survival than realizing that patients can't afford to wait as long as us healthy people. And I'm a patient, but I consider myself a healthy person compared to most patients. So,
Yeah, you could. I mean, Congress could act and remove cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act, but A, that's unlikely, and B, it's not necessary because of the very law that gives them the right to reschedule also gives them the right to remove it from the schedules. So they don't have to go through Congress. They can do it administratively through the Attorney General and his designee, the DEA. In New Jersey, it was the director of the Division of Consumer Affairs who had the power to reschedule marijuana or deschedule it completely. And he also has the power to schedule additional, to add drugs to the various schedules.
Well, it's amazing what some people have the power to do. I learned the hard way that through a commissioner of health and assistant commissioner before that, George D. Fernando, that the commissioner of health in New Jersey saying that there's a position of the Department of Health. Just him making that statement makes that the position of the Department of Health, because I needed to find out how it was that the Department of Health, he says, has a position, Department of Health has a position that for everything that marijuana is said to be good for your health, there's other prescriptions and drugs already available that work as good or better than everything marijuana is purported to work for. I mean, I got a letter quoting it. But if you're going to say there's something that works better and then not tell people what it is, I'm not going to tell you. So, I mean, I kind of got on him for that, to where that's what he told me. He says that's exactly what it is. So I'm just saying, yeah, what shouldn't be. There's just things going on that we don't know, even when we think we got a grip on everything. But I really I look forward to at whatever time it's appropriate, Ken, that you backing up your last thing with the Division of Consumer Affairs and tying this all together when it's tieable in a knot, because that day will come, you know. So that's a long time coming.
Scott says he wants to hold out for total rescheduling or descheduling and legalization and free flower for all adults, but don't hold your breath. And unfortunately, Scott, I think that's right. It's going to be a long time before that happens. But
yeah, well, patients can't hold.
But
patients can't hold their breath for that long, though. That's the irony, I mean, asking patients who literally can't hold their breath because they might be dying because they don't have good breath to say, "Hey, we don't want to do this now. We want it all, and we're willing to wait." I think that's. You didn't really want to hear what I think.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on this? Jared, BRB? Not sure what that means.
Yeah, I was just saying, be right back. I
Oh,
wanted
be right back.
to I wanted to grab something to eat because I haven't had dinner yet. Sorry.
So Abby's here. So Abby, is there anything new that you want to bring to the table today? I know you're on the phone and you're dealing with kids too. I don't know if this is a good time for you, but you have the floor whenever you're ready for it, Abby.
Hi. Nothing really new happening today. Know that I missed Kristen and Andrea talk this afternoon with the NJ CBA. I'm hoping to catch that on YouTube later about home grow and the need for patience. Yeah, I've just been kind of quietly doing my thing. The survey's a little bit in a standstill right now because I haven't had the chance to really populate how we contact all of the different entities, legal entities. And it seems like things are kind of at a standstill with getting things pushed forward. I'm curious to see, I know that Kristen met with Scutari's office recently, and so I'm hoping to get feedback from her soon on how that meeting went, to see how home grows moving forward. Lefty, I don't know if you have any updates on that.
Well, I attended the Kind of Business Association meeting with Kristen Goody and Abby. No, I'm sorry, you're Abby. What's her name?
Andrea.
Andrea. Yes, and also Senator Van Gogh. So they did. They talked about the need for home grow, and it was very good. It was a very good meeting, but it didn't really give any indication that there were any breakthroughs in home grow. So Van Gogh Powell was talking about just the importance of continuing to reach out to your legislators and let them know, your local legislators. You make sure that you know who your your senator and your two representatives are, and so yeah, it was good. There was very it was a powerful presentation, but I didn't hear any real breakthroughs about home grow during it.
It was a little disappointing to me after 3.5 years of having a bill be blocked. That the best advice, and I like him, but if his best advice is we got to keep looking for co-sponsors and talk to you. It's all about getting the bill heard now. If it's not about that, it's not going to happen. I mean, we're asking people to co-sponsor a bill that's not going to get a hearing. So where are they going to get their information on how they feel about this bill, both for and against? Nobody should have an opinion yet. There hasn't been a hearing. But when you hear that there's no will to get it done, there shouldn't be will to get it done before the hearing. You know, the hearing is really, in my opinion, the best case scenario for getting information on from both sides of the issue, because as we know, people come out from the woodwork against it. Some are considered experts, some aren't, but members of the committee from both sides of this issue then have a chance in real time to ask questions of the people giving testimony, to actually sort things out besides written decisions and opinions, to actually talk it out. It is the best way to have what by definition would be a well-informed opinion, and that's been prevented for almost 3.5 years now. If that isn't the first issue, so like I wrote in, but I didn't write in so everybody could see. I only wrote in so the panelists could see, and I directed it to Vengopal and said, wouldn't the simplest thing be to do instead of looking for co-sponsors to simply have people get in touch with their senators and ask them to call on Senator Scutari to allow Vitelli to post the bill for a hearing, because without that, nothing happens. So why do we at all go anywhere by that, planning a vacation when we don't have a car, we don't have a key, we don't have gas, we got nothing, but we need the map, and that's the map. So if it's going to be held before that, what I suggested was, does that not really define censorship? I mean, censoring the information that would be gleaned from an informational hearing by way of preventing that hearing from happening. It's parallel track. So to me, the easiest thing to take control of would be to make I'll bet 19 out of 20, way more than that, people have no idea why a bill is not being heard. Hardly anybody knows a bill isn't being heard. I mean, people just know that patients want it, advocates want it, some people don't, we don't have it. They don't know it's all about prevention of a bill being heard. At the gate, the first step in a bill becoming law by the democratic process we used in New Jersey. Being short-circuited, saying there's no will in the Senate or there's no will in the Assembly, and then to call leadership anything by the names of the people who do it is also disingenuous. Everything, well, leadership, you know, and it obviously was straightened out. Vin was very clear that Senator Vitelli has, again, just recently asked Senator Scutari, you know, who wants to post this bill. So that's kind of where we are. And it's just sitting there, not moving, because we're all going over it. Like, well, once we get by this, here's where we are. And it's my opinion, this is where the battle is. This is the final battle. The final battle is getting it heard. Once it gets heard, it will roll itself out without, it'll have a direction. It's the final battle. I think somebody used that. Well, you know, we haven't got to the final battle. We are. You don't get on the beach, we're done.
The
Simple as that.
advocates for home cultivation certainly feel as passionate as you do, Jim, about this. But as Van Gopal said, you know, it's not a really an issue that's at the top of the list of most of the legislators.
That's
and the only way to get it at the top of the list is for the constituents to reach out to their legislators and let them know how important it is for them to
have the bill heard.
have the bill heard.
That's
to
it.
sign. Also
no
to
weeds,
sign
no
on
weeds, no weeds to hide in. Well, I don't know about the sign. One question: will you help this bill get to its hearing? Here's the problem. Anything else is weeds for them to hide in, and they do. Here's what I'd rather answer. Now I'll pivot. I dealt with this one. If it had one question, this bill needs a hearing, it's being blocked. Are you for the blockade or against it? Or do you not have an opinion? 3 things. That's it. If that was the entire thing anybody talked about, we'd be getting somewhere. Now, that's just my opinion. what do I know? But that's a fact. You gotta, it's not that hard to think like the legislator and know that if you don't give them somewhere to hide and they got nowhere to hide, then it comes down to playing people away. And if you have an email trail, they can't do that either. So those two things combined would get the bill heard quicker rather than later.
But you're not going to find that out unless people reach out to their individual legislators and let them know how important a bill is for them. So, I mean, I think that Senator Gopal's advice was right on. I mean, what else was there to do? Except for the fact I also disagreed that he thought that letters to the editor and op-eds were not as important. But I think that they are. I think that that is a very important way of raising awareness for the issue in
the issue of it not getting a hearing. You see, that should be the first issue. And when that's all been pounded into place, then we should move on to all the other things that would follow that. But we're asking people to be interested in a bill that has not had a hearing, rather than being interested in a bill that has not had a hearing, having a hearing, so they know by definition what their well-informed opinion would be. If I were against this bill and a Republican, I'd be saying I'm against the bill, but I'm more against not knowing why I'm against it. I don't know. I'd like to hear the bill, and then I'll know if I'm against it or for it. I don't know why I can't convince Republicans who are co-sponsors to do just that. So there's a lot more going on than any of us know about. Otherwise, they go, hey, good idea. I'm a minority party co-sponsor. It's my job to be a check and balance on the majority party. But I'm not going to ask Senator Scutari publicly. I'm not going to call on him to step out of the way. Come on, that raises a red flag with me too. So there's things we don't know. Beyond that, we don't know why it hasn't had a hearing in the assembly, do we? It's a committee that it's in. Of course, Chairman Atkins of the ORF committee is a co-sponsor himself. Yet there hasn't been a hearing. I doubt it's because he hasn't taken an interest in having a bill he co-sponsors being heard in his committee. I assume he has that interest. I mean, we can just kind of go out on that limb. But if that's the case, then something else is already stopping it from getting a hearing, because it would have had one by now otherwise, and we don't know that. So I am going to do my best to, I have a decent rapport with Eric at Assemblyman Reynolds Jackson's office, and Tracy as well. I got to let them know I know that there's something we're missing, and we can't help them if they don't let us know what that is. I mean, I need to know why it's being held up. It's all too often things have happened and people don't tell us why, and we just accept that, and that's got to stop. We got to know why. Basically, why isn't it coming up for a hearing? Why has it been blocked for 3 years? They're legitimate questions, and I don't like that I can't answer that question for patients with anything more than postulation rather than somebody actually opening it up. And I know we really are trying hard. I'm not saying we're not making the effort. I'm just saying that the longest journey begins with but a single step. And if we aren't allowed to take that single step, we don't need another pair of sneakers down the road because we're not using the ones we got. We got to be allowed to have this hearing heard. And I maintain the only reason it's not being heard is it's a good bill. It'll get some credit. It's the exact same bill that Senate President Scutari is blocking in the Senate. And if this bill is heard in the Assembly, people are going to know it's a good bill. Then they're going to know he's blocking a good bill in the Senate, and the information will be out. Senators can read Assembly bills too. You can just ask them to read the Assembly version of the bill. So now we get to go back to senators and say, I'd like you to co-sponsor this bill in the Senate, and here's the information from the Assembly hearing that I'd like you to look at. See, we'd have something, a weapon, an Assembly hearing. That'll do it. That'll break the logjam. That'll start things moving. In 3.5 years is unacceptable. I'm done. Okay, I'm not done, but
You're not done.
No, I'm never done. I know. I'm like, what about Bob? That movie with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray. Shuts the door on him. Gone. gone, he's never gone. He opens the door and there he is still talking. That's me. I get it. I can't help it. I'm passionate.
All right. Anything more on the home grow bill or uh, ways to advance it?
I did, by the way, get a chance to talk with Senator Singer on the way out of the psilocybin meeting that I registered for, but didn't get to speak at. I was in there, and they just didn't call my name. And,
Really? You
yeah.
registered to speak, and
Yeah.
they didn't call you.
No.
Huh.
You know, and I even had my thing pared down to a minute. It was just simply going to be for me about the lofty goal and saying this long range commission to ensure safe and unfair access and affordability. Now they define stuff like okay, psilocybin means this, and some says they define everything. You already know what it means. A meeting room means a room where there's a meeting. You know, they do that. Something means, but they never said what affordable means. There's no definition, no number definition, and some people picked up at that on the committee. How many? All the rules seem like, my God, this is expensive. Not even talking about the material being used, the whole procedure. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it is going to cost. And there is not even a close ballpark estimate. So I was just wanted to highlight that without having a definition of affordable. I don't trust that it will. And, you know, once burned, twice cautious, you know, like we've seen how affordability didn't happen with cannabis. And then of course, home grow was kind of in it, and everybody can't figure out why it was taken out. Why'd they take out? Oh, you know what? Home grow wasn't in it. Can somebody explain to me? Oh, I really hope so. In the bill, it said that longer be unlawful. No, is not unlawful, not no longer. Will not be unlawful. Everything was described as will not be unlawful. I mean, I get it. It's a workable double negative, but it's to keep from saying legal, you know, because if it was legal, there'd be a whole lot more rules and you know how that gets. So I thought that was pretty slick in a way, but then they took it out and we don't know why. Here's a clue. If you want to sell a car for $5,000 or $3,500, you ask 49, you know, and then you'll option out some of it. No, okay, well, I'll take that. You know, you put in, it's not going to be unlawful, and then they took it out. And it probably helped things move because Senator Singer did vote against it. So on the way out, I had a copy of what my little work of art, New Jersey medical marijuana outlier state timeline. And we went over it together. Senator Singer is pretty interested in that because he's also a co-sponsor of the bill. So I think I might be able to follow up. He was pretty interested, and we talked for a few minutes. Seemingly nobody else noticed who he was. It was like right with everybody else, and I don't even know if they knew it was Senator Singer, but nonetheless.
So on the psilocybin bill, S-2283, it was amended severely. The home cultivation part was taken out of it. So apparently it's going to go into a model where it's only available through some type of licensed practitioners.
Ooh, that was the plan all along, probably, but I didn't see a home cultivation provision in there. I really almost read through the whole thing, but it's 50 pages, and a lot of the whereas stuff I skipped over. But was there really a home cultivation provision mentioned at all? All I saw is it will not be unlawful. It is not unlawful, or it will not be unlawful to grow. And
well,
then they had to take that language out for sure.
Right.
But that's not a home grow provision. Home grow provision would say you're allowed to home grow. That's a provision. And then it would make provisions to define that provision. So it's, if you know, that's a very good legitimate question for a lawmaker who would know. or like Bill Caruso at least. I mean, there's a reason for that, and I'm not saying it's bad. I support the bill. Yeah, I just don't support it having advantages that medical cannabis bills don't have. Seems a little out of place to me, but you know how I am.
So I suppose the board will have to get together and decide if we still support, CMMNJ still supports that bill. I mean, I imagine we still do, even though it doesn't have the home cultivation provision now, which was taken out regardless of the language that was used. It was originally in there as to allow for home cultivation of psilocybin, and now it doesn't.
There's nobody, I'll bet, gonna say, no, if we don't have that, we should just wait till we do. It's not gonna work without it. Nobody's gonna say that. You know,
Kristen Goody said it during the
should
hearing.
just
Kristen Goody said
not,
it. She said that she did not support the bill now with the amendments that were added to this bill, you know, at the hearing.
no, you know what? I had such hard time hearing what people were saying there because they got some really, I don't know if it's cheap microphones or the smallness of the room. I don't know what it was, but everything sounded like, you know.
Well, Hetty, New Jersey
had a hard time.
Hetty did a nice job on summarizing the hearing, and of course
Well,
the
look,
hearing is
yeah.
still available. The
Well,
audio hearing
there's
is available.
There should be a transcript as well. I usually wait for that because I don't hear too good, but I can read fine.
So anyway, but I imagine we will go ahead and support the bill. And did anybody else attend the hearing?
Yeah,
Or-
nobody here.
Nobody here.
Chris Goldstein wasn't there in time. Michael Brennan wasn't there by the time it filled up. Andrea wasn't there by the time it filled up. And see, this is horrible. My nickname was always the late Jim Miller till Cheryl died, and it seemed like really freaking inappropriate then. But I was always the late Jim Miller. For a hearing like this, I try to get there an hour early. I won't be all that bored waiting. I'm never on time. Sometimes I can't find a parking place. Everything went wrong and I didn't get there till 12:30. I had a seat saved until almost about 8 minutes till 1. Hoping somebody said, Jim, and said, here, sit down quick. I mean, I had a thing on it till it was the last seat. So, you know, it would have been interesting to have a lot more people there, but I forget who it was in support of it had. There's what, maybe 45 seats, less than 50, I think, a little bit, and hardly any standing room. And I'd say a third of the people there that were in support of it were all from the same organization, with many not going to speak. So that kind of closed the room out pretty quick. But anybody going to a committee hearing, if you early, wow. That's terrible if I know that and somebody else doesn't. If you know me, not on time.
So I submitted written testimony to the hearing, so I wasn't available that day in Trenton at all. So, but I did submit written testimony, but it was essentially the same testimony that I submitted to the previous. It was a Senate. It must have been a Senate Judiciary Committee, or maybe the Senate Health Committee. The last time it was heard. Anyway, I remember. I believe Senator Vitale was the chairman of the committee.
The last time it was heard, something apparently went, I read in Spotlight, New Jersey news on the 5th, that apparently something happened in the assembly last time that caused it to not be heard. And I guess they got that worked out by this year. I'm still curious as to kind of what that was, but Spotlight, New Jersey's probably usually pretty good about getting things right. So it might actually help for us to know that to help the bill to kind of know what happened last year. You know, it's this, unless it's another secret that the assembly wants to keep about why something happened, you know, should be able to find out, and it might prove beneficial to be a little more aware of what's going on now. I still support the bill. You know, I just don't like supporting them being able to say that affordability is a main goal without being able to define what affordability means. You can't define what it means. How can you call it a goal? We'll let you know when we get there. We'll ring a bell. That didn't work.
So Ed Hahnemann is here. Thanks for coming, Ed, another board member from CMMNJ. You can unmute yourself if you want to do more than just put your thumb down.
I clicked on did not work. I had to do cut and paste. I was trying international numbers and you couldn't click on it like normal that you sent to get into the meeting.
Did anyone else have a problem besides Ed getting into the meeting? I know our attendance is down. We've only got like 6 or 7 people.
Yeah, I've had trouble in the past, as you know, a couple of times, but I went right to the link on the coalition, Friends of the Coalition page, and it had a link to the link, and I got right on, you know. So
normally,
yeah, the link
just
went right
click.
there.
You couldn't just click. I ended up trying to copy and paste it into other HTTP crap.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't click. On blue, so I just tried clicking that. I wasn't even sure, and it went right to it. And you know, I'm an idiot.
Ed,
So
I got a question. I got a question for Ed Hahnemann. Ed, what are you using to you're totally orange on the screen?
What?
he liked orange.
No, it's just the curtain behind me. I mean, if I put a light on, I don't like to be in light. See, if I put a light on, it'll bleach it out.
Yeah.
I don't need that much
Okay.
light.
Okay, that's much better. Okay.
Yeah, that's a little better actually, Ed.
Well, I didn't do anything. I turned the light off.
Yeah.
Look, if you're trying to get on the Chris Christie campaign, you got to look good.
All right, Mike Brennan's here. Mike, thank you for coming. Did you have trouble getting in?
I still am.
You still are.
I hear you, but I don't see anything yet. So I'm working on it.
Well, you can go on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's also on the Facebook page. But now people who are watching this on Facebook, can they also join the conversation?
They can go on Facebook and they can make a comment, and we can read the comments off of Facebook and then read it back to the audience on Zoom.
What?
If there's someone watching this on Facebook and they want to comment about something, they want to ask about cannabis or whatever, all right? So what would happen is they would, write out their question. I would see it in the chat room and then relay that question either to the group or to Ken, and then Ken can repeat it back. What the question is, so-and-so from Facebook wants to know about what are the effects of cannabis and alcohol, whatever.
The recording has stopped.
Recording stopped.
Well, yeah, Ken was recording this.
Yeah, I know. I just got noticed that it said it stopped.
No, I stopped recording this at the beginning of the meeting, Nick,
Okay.
because you said you were recording it.
Well, we are recording it, but my point is somebody was recording the Zoom call on their own.
Oh, okay.
Not you, not me.
Oh, all right. Somebody else. Okay.
Well, I pressed my mute button at the exact same time that thing said the recording has stopped, and I thought I did something. It really messed me up for a second. I got to tell you, right the exact moment.
I think Jim needs a timeout.
And you got a guilty conscience.
Yes, yes.
So for the first hour, we were discussing the DEA's revised effort to reschedule cannabis and how we and CMMNJ's support for that. So what we decided while the board members were out was that we do support the rescheduling, even though we will continue to advocate for descheduling. And also that it seems like we also support the revised S-2283, the psilocybin bill, even though home cultivation of psilocybin mushrooms was taken out of it, and it was not I mean, there was a lot of damage done to the bill during the hearing. So I don't think even a formal copy of the revised bill is even available yet. At least it wasn't earlier today. So
It wasn't available certainly that day, and Chris Goldstein weighed in on that, saying it was very unusual that the members of the committee didn't even have a revised copy, actually
Right, right.
hard copy, but they did talk about it on Tuesday or something
Yeah,
before that.
that happens. That happened to our medical marijuana bill, and when it went to the assembly with Assemblyman Kirk Conaway. All these changes, and we didn't have a bill to look at to say what the changes were. So anyway, moving along, the New Jersey Cannabis Town Hall. Our town hall is going to be on June 22nd from 12 to 5 at Raritan Valley Community College Conference Center. Oh, yeah, I have it listed as the College Conference Center. There is
That's right.
So the Event Center, perhaps it's also called. And there's going to be panel discussions with industry leaders. I'm on one of the panels. There's going to be a career fair and expungement clinics, and Jared's going to be one of the lawyers working on expungements. So,
and it's also going to be broadcasted on this YouTube and Facebook, so people will be able to view it remotely as well. So maybe in fairness, we should maybe promote this as a in-person and also a YouTube experience for people who can't make it.
okay. Do you want to do something like that, and we can Nick, put like a link to where it's going to be on YouTube, and
Yeah.
people can attend it if they can't actually physically make it to Raritan Valley Community College.
Right. I'll
So will
I'll come
people
up.
watching on Facebook also be able to type in questions to Nick so he can read them to
Well,
Ken?
it's not,
So you can
it's-
put them out to the
yeah.
public as well?
Right, we just got done talking about that. For the record, it's not just to me, it's on Ken's profile, his video. So everyone who subscribes to Ken has the potential to watch this. Right now, we have a very low count, but that's okay. It's our first night doing this. But the bottom line is, if they ask a question in the comments section on Facebook, somebody from here will be able to notice it and then say, "Hell, hold up, Howard from Metuchen needs to ask a question about cannabis," and we'll ask the question, and somebody will answer it. But it's not just coming to me; it's coming out of Ken's.
How about questions? How about questions on YouTube also?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Whoever's monitoring the feed on YouTube can ask a question, and then somebody will be able to pick up. I'm connected to the chat, and so far no one's asked any questions. I'm probably the only one on because no one else has been advertising this. So maybe after tonight, now that it's reality, we can finally start promoting the fact that we have a YouTube channel, and we can start utilizing it for when we do our meetings, when we do cannabis town halls, even when we go to the state legislature, and we can face the camera towards us at the table while we're testifying, and we can go live on the spot from the Jersey State House.
Sounds
Can
encouraging.
I ask a question, please, of Nick?
Sure.
Nick, could you please adjust your camera so I'm not looking up your crotch? It's like I got your legs. You're like right in dead center on my television screen on YouTube here. You're like,
All right, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, wait a minute.
I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm sorry about that.
And while you're doing that, you look like you have no arms either, Nick.
Yeah, it's that background you're choosing. It just
Yeah, let me get rid of it.
Okay. Any questions about that? Is everyone coming to the Cannabis Town Hall on the 22nd?
I will not.
Is there an admissions charge to just show up?
No,
Only
it's
for you.
It's free.
I will be attending the event in Bordentown.
Oh, okay. All right. Mike's gonna. Oh, yes. So I had invited the woman. What was her name? Shannon DeGrooms from This Is Jane Project. I hoped that she would come here and explain a little bit about the This Is Jane Project. Apparently, they give cannabis away to women and non-binary people.
Trauma
know-
survivors.
I'm sorry,
Trauma survivors.
trauma survivors. So you had to, what did you do, Mike? You had to apply to attend this event, and you're going to get some free cannabis at Curaleaf in Bordentown on the
I have
22nd?
no idea what I'll be getting, but I applied to attend.
Uh-huh.
And
And did they give you a specific time to show up?
um, you know, not yet. I had signed up for the 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Stop
So you
it.
have a specific time to show up.
Yes,
Okay.
it's different specific times to show up.
Okay.
There's 11, 12, 1, and 2. I think 4 different things.
So right after you're done there, you can come up to Raritan Valley Community College. Should have plenty of time. All right. So anyway, we've been promoting that, and we certainly hope that it's a well-attended and a successful event. Governor Murphy was honored to have a marijuana product named Murphy's Sours during a recent tour of the prolific grow house in Mount Holly. So that was nice to hear. I understand there was one named after Kamala Harris also.
There should be one named after you. I still believe in that.
We're working on it. But the bad news is Trenton, the city of Trenton proposed an ordinance to make it unlawful for any person to smoke cannabis in or on any public space, with fines of $250 to $1,000 for any violation. So that was kind of upsetting. As a member of the Trenton's Cannabis Advisory Committee, I was kind of blindsided by the introduction of this ordinance. And originally, it was just like that. There was no provision for medical cannabis use. And I pointed out that, the Jay Koenig law said that, medical patients can use marijuana in public, essentially anywhere that people can smoke cigarettes. And so they did put that, amendment to the ordinance in, and now who introduced the ordinance and for what purpose? That's a good question. Obviously, I don't know the background of the ordinance, and the purpose only seems to be, to me, to make money, to be a source of income for the city of Trenton. But my point is that even after the ordinance, the amended ordinance allowing for the medical use of cannabis, it's still going to be really a recreation of the war on drugs, because the people who are going to be affected mostly by this are going to be impoverished minorities, young impoverished minorities, and when they can't pay their fine, then they become involved in the criminal justice system again. And
Policing for profit. Squeeze the last drops of capital out of impoverished communities like that.
say that again, Jared.
Already. Go ahead, Jared.
You called policing for profit. The idea is that you're basically squeezing the last few drops of capital and monetary value out of an already strained community and just leaving them in the dust. I mean, this came up a lot around the time of the riots in Ferguson, Missouri, because that was going on a lot out there. But it's hardly the only place that such a thing has happened. So, yeah.
There's some problems with this, and that
some other municipalities have also introduced similar ordinances, and I think that's kind of what caught the attention of the Trenton City Council when they prepared that ordinance. But apparently, it was just done by the law department, and we work pretty closely with the law department. But anyway, they kind of blindsided us, and so I am going to point out that the ordinance was put on hold because of the amendment. They had to review it. So the next meeting is I'm going to be alerting the rest of the Cannabis Advisory Committee to the problems that are associated with this, series of fines that they want to institute. And hopefully we can delay the implementation of this and possibly get rid of it altogether. Mike?
Ken, yes. Yeah, issue with patients who live in HUD housing. It's against
Right.
the law for us to medicate inside our living. We're not allowed to smoke anything inside our apartments.
Right.
Therefore, we are forced to go outside. Therefore,
Right.
we're out in public. I mean, we can go to our car
That's a
if we
good
can
point.
afford to have a car.
That's a good point.
However, this is
Yeah.
what this happened. Jared mentioned earlier, a few years ago, this was an issue in Washington, D.C., where a few cops got smarter than the average bear, and they started people coming out to medicate, and all of a sudden the number of patients being arrested in Washington D.C. were climbing through the roof because they're being predated by cops looking for patients who can't smoke in their house.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the points that I intend to bring up, Mike. Because of the housing situation, and either subsidized housing, federally subsidized housing, or even if the landlord simply refuses to allow people to smoke in their house, which is the right of the landlord to say that. Where are patients going to go to use their medicine? They can't smoke in the house. Now they can't smoke outside the house. It's like,
Right.
you can't use medicine.
It's against the law to smoke cannabis in public in the state of New Jersey.
Right.
Not for medical patients. Not for medical patients.
Well, for patients, right? We can smoke where
Right.
it's, but I brought that up every year at Morristown Day, and not one cop is familiar with that at all. They all, really? Because I'm asking them, and we had it again this year. Someone walks up, where can I go to medicate? We're at a street fair. We're not allowed to smoke anything in public anymore. And there's one spot that I know where there's a bench with an ashtray under a tree in a parking lot. And it's one spot I know in town where I send people to go. I tell them to go to their car. But Trenton, this is going to be an issue where municipalities are using to prey on patients.
Yeah, I mean, from a public health point of view, it makes a lot more sense to fine the use of smoking tobacco in public, rather than cannabis.
Outdoors. That's going to be a good one to prove.
How are police going to enforce this? Because the smell of cannabis cannot start an investigation. So how would they investigate? Just by looking at somebody smoking, or just seeing it?
See you. Boom.
What's the standard fine for that? I imagine it's something that
starts at $250. $250 the first offense, $500 the second offense, and $1,000 the third offense. Yeah, how the police enforce that is another question, Lefty. I don't know, but I guess they would see somebody smoking the marijuana and issue a fine.
This hurts patients. It hurts patients. It makes patients jump through more hoops. If the patient doesn't have their card or doesn't have their something in order, they may have to go to court and prove they're a patient.
Right.
So patients are going to be affected by this.
Right. Oh yeah. The law, the amendment to the law definitely says that the policeman will ask for the medical marijuana card. Now, of course, we just lost. What was it? There were 80,000. It used to be 130,000. So we lost 50,000 patients, from the medical marijuana program who gave up their cards with the adult use. And so now we have, obviously these are medical patients who are using it, but they can't prove it because of the financial obligation of staying a patient in the state of New Jersey.
And a method of affording my medicine used to be, I remember when Jim Ross got in trouble because he showed his card to somebody, he had some on I think it was a subway platform or something, and they could instantly call up and find out that it had been 2 years since he bought anything at a dispensary. So of course that he got in trouble then.
Huh.
Which makes me wonder, what if I showed my card and they called and found out you haven't bought anything since November of the year before last? I mean, can I just say it's really stale? I got to tell you, it's really stale. It's
He really got in trouble for not buying marijuana for 2 years. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Well, at the time he was supposed to have. At the time, it was very much you had to have it in your original package or container and all that stuff.
Right.
Still do.
So they were taking things in a different level of serious as far as where did it come from, because it was still a Schedule I illegal narcotic for all other adults.
And Scott points out in the chat that that's just another example of those who've been against cannabis legalization all along, trying to claw back as many of the freedoms bestowed by legalization as possible. And roadside THC test is another example. Yeah, absolutely.
What's the progress on that?
What?
What's the progress on, being pulled over, and is there a sobriety test that has been approved yet?
No,
No, not that I'm aware of.
no.
Okay.
Your DRE involved with pot. We still haven't, thank God that bill hasn't gotten any co-sponsors yet for that 3 nanogram bullshit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
scary. It's still
3
out there.
nanograms for a patient, just turn in your driver's license too. You want a medical marijuana card? Give them your
And
driver's
submit to a
license,
blood
because
test
Pennsylvania-
without a warrant. That's what
No.
the bill also proposes. Yeah.
Well, these are the good old days then, because
Yeah, I don't know
right
if the
now,
court will let it go through anyway with the mandatory blood. I mean, anybody who has a driver's license would have to give blood.
Well, if the cop suspects that you're impaired, apparently.
How many cops are going to just say,
Right.
I don't know. Let's give them to do it anyway. I'm going to write them up for whatever I can.
I suspect it. You seem nervous. You seem not aware of things.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to get blood
We've
out.
come a long way since you got a loose license plate, buddy. That's why I pulled you over. That's so
Yeah,
old
I mean,
school.
but
Nothing
at the
anymore.
same time, like they can basically, the courts basically allow them to use suspicion as an excuse for whatever the hell they want to do anyway.
Yep.
I know this. I know people in law enforcement. I hear what they tell me. I'm not, I'm not ignoring this. I mean, I don't know what's going to actually happen, because, like, with regards to THC, I don't know if we've established any kind of threshold density in the blood that would
Intoxication? No.
result in intoxication. So yeah, you don't really have any scientific standard to base it on if you're going to make a law like that. It's not like blood alcohol content in that way.
There is about 10 nanograms. About 10 nanograms, everyone's pretty much over the limit to
Sounds like an estimate.
Use the word intoxicated.
I want something more than an estimate based on how many fingers and toes you have. Well, 10. If it was 9 or 11, I'd think they did something. But when I hear 10, they're just throwing that out there, and it has nothing to do with science or cause and effect or anything. Just 10.
Right.
10.
It's like the one study that everyone was upset about, or that seems to be having weight, is that, when you smoke pot for an hour and a half to 5 hours, you really don't know how you're able to drive or not. But when they took that and actually put people in a driving simulator, the results were different than the other study. So, in other words, the science is not done with that yet.
Right.
And then there's people that don't know how to drive when they're sober. So where's the test for them? I mean, they should be.
Distracted driving is probably worse than cannabis intoxication.
Yes, I think it is.
Anyway, there's a new bill out, S-2921, to cap prices on New Jersey's medical marijuana, but I don't know where that's going. And
$400.
Sponsor and co-sponsor.
Yeah.
We cap it at 4.
Who's the sponsor and co-sponsor of that bill? I want to call them up and thank them.
Singleton, I want to say. Is it Singleton? I think Might be Singleton.
That's about right.
Yeah. CMMNJ's website was transitioning out of GoDaddy.
Get us so that we can have control over the domain name to forward it to our new site. And we're going to have content, new content, because a lot of it's old and outdated. Maybe some of the things that we've been leafleting with, we can put up on our website, our new one, when we finally get it. But I am working on it.
Okay, so
It'll be ready by the time the town hall takes place.
ready by the 22nd?
Yep.
All right.
I will have,
Me?
I left on a couple of messages. I'm just waiting for him to get back.
Okay, great.
So,
So
And Brian.
the CRC is, their next meeting is June 17th. It's going to be virtual. They invited testimony from a number of people on medical conditions, research, and healthcare access. And I was one of the people they invited to testify. Chris Goldstein called me. He was also invited to testify. So they really definitely want to hear from advocates on these issues. I did prepare some written testimony that I just sent around to the board anyway about my planned testimony. And just to summarize it, we think that any medical condition that a prescriber wants to prescribe for or recommend for his recommend medical cannabis for should be allowed, rather than trying to make individual list every medical condition that can be benefited by marijuana. I'm proposing that the CRC start its own research. They've been giving, they have 80,000 patients and caregivers, and some of these patients have been getting medical marijuana for a decade, and nobody's asked them how they're doing on it. You know, they could send out a questionnaire to these patients and begin to capture information about, you know, what dosages and methods of administration do they use, experiencing, have they reduced their use of opiates and other drugs, and have they experienced any drug interactions? So Scott, you have a question? You're muted, Scott. You have to unmute yourself.
Got it. I just wanted real quick. I remember when I first couple years I had my card. Every couple months I went into Curaleaf up in Belmar. They would give me a little questionnaire to fill out. You know, how,
Right.
what I, you know, when I used, when my pain was, how I rate it and stuff like that. But that seemed to stop around the time of adult use.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I found that too. When I first started, there was a questionnaire about, you know, what symptoms we have and what symptoms you're trying to control with it. But there's never was any kind of real follow-up on it. And there was
Right.
never, you know, most of the other dispensaries didn't do it. I think I only ran into one. And that may have been the very first time I went to a dispensary. They was asked to fill out a, you know, some type of form about why I was using it. But there was never any follow-up about, well, is it working for you? Or, you know, have you had, you know, is it controlling your condition? And how is it controlling your condition or conditions, you know, topically, edibles, you know, inhalation method, you know, what are you using? How much are you using? This could all be very valuable information. So anyway, that's my suggestion that CRC should start with on research, and then finally on healthcare provider access. I say we should, you know, immediately implement the dosage and administration guidelines and the education on the endocannabinoid system that was called for in the Jay Koenig Act, and as well as in Governor Murphy's Executive Order number 6, and that there should be mandatory education on the endocannabinoid system for all prescribers in New Jersey who, as a condition of continued licensure in New Jersey. That's what I'm calling for. So Anyway, those are my recommendations, and I have to summarize all that in 5 minutes when I give
I think
testimony.
I think
Ed,
it's
you have a
outstanding.
comment?
Yeah, it would be that's awesome. Do you know if there's any questionnaire type thing goes to patients in other states? Because that's a great idea, but it'd be even greater if you could name one state that did anything like that by the time you submit that. I mean, I'll even try looking. I'm not a great researcher, but then that's why we have patient awareness day on July 10th. I think maybe between now and then we'd have a shot at finding out. And if not, then I I don't understand why not. Isn't that the
Yeah,
goal?
right.
Isn't that the goal of
Right.
any successful program, to know whether it's a success?
If the
Ed,
program had
Wait,
supplied,
excuse me, Ed's got his hand up. He's
oh, I
gonna,
didn't see
go
his
ahead,
hand.
Ed.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Well,
Yellow.
two things. One is to, on your on your testimony that you wrote up, Ken. I liked it a lot, but I don't know. I didn't get a chance to study it closely, but I just thought, can you emphasize? I'm not sure how it works with what do you call it? Like an off-track medication. There was a pharmaceutical company says
Off-label,
this is good for
off-label.
blood. Off-label. Okay, is that not regulated for regular medications at all? Off-label use?
No, if a medication is approved by the FDA for a certain condition, it can be used off-label for any other condition that the prescriber feels it would be helpful for.
Okay, I think we should hit that point hard because, as I said in my note to you, again, they demonize marijuana, that it's some kind of lesser medication and shouldn't be given the same rights as every other medication, you know?
Right.
So I would emphasize that maybe when you do the oral testimony,
All right.
that you hit them hard with that this is discriminatory against marijuana. The second point I want is, I don't know, no one else seems as concerned as I am with this 3 nanograms per milliliter. I'm not a science guy at all, but what about a patient who medicates and then 12 hours later they're driving and they're fine to drive? Are they going to have these 3 nanograms? And the milliliter is not very much.
yeah, you're looking at 10 days, 12 days later, I could still have over 3 nanograms in my bloodstream.
We
The
got
average waking serum level for a patient is anywhere from 2 to 10 nanograms.
Well, in Pennsylvania, my understanding is,
Zero.
even with their medical program, if you have any THC in your blood, you can lose your license.
Yes, you don't identify to a trooper that you're a medical patient at all. It's just telling you're DWI. I mean, if it's up to the trooper if he really wants to push it, but we all know it. There's certain troopers out there that like push it.
I think we should advocate for in the bill definitely an exception for patients. If they show a card, then the trooper or the cop has to come up with objective careless driving standards.
No,
Right.
no. Any acceptance at all of a per se THC limit is just violating any patient's rights to drive at all. Not that they have a right to drive in the first place.
No,
any per se limits.
You're misunderstanding me, Mike.
It's about intolerance. It's about tolerance, and then you have your intoxication.
Misunderstanding me. I'm saying
about having a card so I could get out of jail card, like people use it now to go, they're going to get busted.
Right. Ed wants to clarify, Mike. Go ahead, Ed. All right,
you're misunderstanding, Mike. I'm saying the patient who would have the 3 nanograms or more, but who is driving fine, or let's say they were exceeding the speed limit, okay, and they give them the blood test, but they should throw out that you're DWI. You're not you exceed the speed limit or you're careless driving. The DUI stuff is license losing and points and stuff. I'm trying to give patients an out here.
Yeah.
And so am I, by not allowing a law like that to even exist.
Well, but the rec users are going to be screwed then. I mean, they're really screwed.
Yeah.
We need to understand how to test for intoxication with weed, and we do not know how to do that. No one does.
But that 3 millimeters nano standard you know.
I didn't hear that. You broke up on me.
No, I'm sorry, you kind of went deaf there, Ed.
My mute thing doesn't seem to work. The 3 nano thing, I think we need some expert testimony to say it's absurd.
Yeah. So where is the bill? Anybody familiar with the bill on where it is? Is it in some committee? Or what the
Gotta bring it
number of
up.
the bill is?
I know Shirley Turner was the
Oh, right, yeah.
Shirley Turner's bill. I had seen it once with co-sponsors, and then when I went back to it, there was no co-sponsors showing. So I don't know how that happened. Unless I was looking at a different bill first time.
Hey, Ken, did anybody follow up with that Montgomery paper where that woman was talking to doctors who, you know this, Michael, remember that the reporter came over? There are doctors who are doing studies. We figured maybe that's tied into this 3 nanograms crap.
No, I'm not sure what you're referring to it.
Remember at the Pennington days, the woman reporter came up. She asked us about what did we know about the medical tests being developed for marijuana intoxication. She said she interviewed doctors and she was writing an article on it.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen any articles come out, from
I mean, maybe we can go back to Turner and say, where the hell did you get this stupid idea?
It's being the per se THC limits are being thrown around the country, by prohibitionists.
Right.
You know, when you can make the connection that it's the prohibition that causes the overdose, maybe then we'll start getting some justice for patients.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Anything more on that? We already did talk about
things about that in the.
What's that?
I did post a couple things about that in the CMJ board chat. I want to bring them back up and I'll send it what I have on that, Ed.
Yeah, Ed doesn't go on the board chat, right? You're not on the Facebook board chat, Ed. So some of the
I have a hard time getting on a chat here, and my computer's
half the board doesn't go on the board chat.
Yeah,
so
half the board doesn't.
stuff. I'm on email a lot, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. And so, Ed, there was some question about whether or not CMMNJ was going to do a response to the DEA's plan to change cannabis scheduling to a Schedule 3. So you're in charge of this since you came late. You're in charge of our CMMNJ's response, and good luck with that, Ed.
With someone else on this.
Yeah, you have until the 22nd of July.
Holy crap!
I'll join that committee with you. You're going to committee.
Thanks.
Make a committee.
All right, great.
We probably have opposing views, so that'll be fun, Mike.
No problem. Ed, you ignorant slut.
That's it. Good start. Good start.
So no one here is from Minorities for Medical Marijuana. They always have some upcoming events. I know Guy was up at CBE up in New York recently. Anybody go there? Huh?
At the Javits Center, CWCBE.
Yeah, the Javits Center, right?
That was also Nichelle had a prominent table next to New York City Cannabis Commission or something. So she really had a good table, as she told me.
That's great. I'm sure Canna Coverage got a lot of good stuff for that. Coalition get any?
And
Guy and I wanted to talk about tonight, but we can maybe leave it for a board meeting. But you mentioned it before, Ken, about fundraising and how we need to do more fundraising. And Guy and I have this opinion that, this nickel and diming over bracelets and T-shirts, we really do need a major fundraiser. And as I've told you guys about my church, and the reason I'm so adamant about it is because we can get it on the very, very cheap, no insurance needed. And so, you know, if we can decide to plan on a major fundraising event, maybe next spring, you know, we can have a conference at the church. There's classrooms, there's a kitchen, sanctuary that seats 300, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't think nickel and diming and this are mutually exclusive. I agree. We should have a concerted effort. I mean, you know, I'm really ill suited to do anything other than cheerlead and where do I fit in, and you tell me. But, you know, the nickel and diming, it's not sometimes, it's certainly not going to be raising the bank account all that much, but there's paths that cross and bridges that are built that you can't
Sure.
put a price on and can't see. So I would suggest doing both. I mean, you know,
Sure, of course.
but
Yeah.
you know,
But I wouldn't. But my
What
point here, I
purpose-
think,
what
is
purpose do you want to raise funds for? For what purpose are we raising funds?
well, we're raising
Exactly.
funds so that
We don't have
so
a
that Ken
purpose.
can.
We're just begging.
We're raising
We're
funds
raising
so that we
funds so
can
Ken-
meet our goals of, we can better meet our goals of,
How about
insurance,
how about a
insurance
goal of a
coverage,
website that we pay
insurance
for
coverage,
something?
home cultivation, having a viable website, hospital and institutional access. There are a lot of places to spend money, trust me.
But Ken, as you know, we're registered, I just did that with my other group, to be rated by the IRS, not on what we spend, but I mean, on what we spend, but we can't bribe legislators. So we want to do all those things, but how do we tie expenditures into those particular goals?
How do we think
Advocacy.
of that? Well, you know, we have shown in the past that we could do more with money than we can without money. So, you know,
I mean, can we make a patient video? Can we, how can we how can we spend the money?
Well,
You know, hold a
we could have a
conference?
fundraiser for $25,000. We could have chipped in on someone else's documentary about us, and probably already been on CNN by now. But that amount seems to be overwhelming to people, and we shut up and we say no. When applying for a grant, raising funds, we need to have a purpose for what those funds are going to be for, so that when we
That's what I'm
reply
saying.
back to the person, the group or the company, wherever the grant was sourced, we have here's what we did with that money.
I mean,
getting patients and really sympathetic people, especially in wheelchairs, to when there is going to be a hearing for a medical home grow bill. It's going to happen eventually. There's going to be an informational hearing. I'm just saying it would be nice to have a whole lot of money to be able to back up whatever it takes. We'll get you there and back safely. You tell us what you need. And just pack the halls, pack the courtroom, pack the outside, have patients telling their story. You know, that would be awesome, and it would take money. You know, when I went to the class action lawsuit, the federal one in Philadelphia, there's short of 500 patients in the named in the suit, but I guess about 125 or so showed up. And let me tell you what, the judges never looked more sympathetic. The 3-judge panel is when Cheryl passed out in her wheelchair in the back, and another 6 or 7 wheelchairs had to shuffle out of the way so I could get her wheelchair out with her head back and her mouth open. She's all passed out, and the entire thing came to a halt. We got her outside, and then they went back to how important it was, you know, for patients. It was like show and tell, you know. I mean, you know.
Right.
I would have been so proud of her if I found out she was faking and got me too, but no, she was really passed out. And I'm just saying that seeing a patient that has anything to say, that has any trouble getting there, is worth a lot. And I'm not saying like show and tell, like news reporters, how'd that make you feel when you lost your husband and you found out, and then they stick a camera in your face. Not that kind of stuff. There are patients I do know that would love to do that. And I'm just saying there's a lot more than that. And like I suggested to Ken, the conferences that cost a lot to get to, that CMMNJ is well represented at. It would be nice if it was just easy and you don't have to look for day trippers because of a room expense or anything. And you're going to need money for that and a lot of other stuff. And other stuff will come off that hasn't now, but Ken is absolutely right. We'll do more with money than without, but I just think that I love the nickel and dime stuff. I don't mind spending the time on that because I'm not your best representation of the kind of functions you're talking about.
Yeah.
I do know how to keep quiet.
And there's going to be a lot of expenses associated with any can I mean, our treasury is going to take a big hit when we go to Atlantic City. Scott, you had your hand up?
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on what Nick was saying about having a major fundraising event, and what Mike was saying as far as what are you going to use the money for. Sometimes it's more effective to motivate giving, to have a set goal, if you're having an event and a major fundraiser, to have something we're going to, I don't know, even if it's I don't know what, but
the targeted fundraiser you're talking about. I love the idea. I mentioned,
yeah, but just have a goal for the event so that people know exactly what they're giving to, not just for helping with medical marijuana.
This could be also tied into a celebration of CMMNJ, and have a lot of dispensaries show up, a lot of panels, discussions. And let me just clarify the nickel and diming what I meant. Yeah, there's nothing better than retail politics. You bet. Shaking hands, meeting someone over, buying a T-shirt. Hey, I'm Phil from Metuchen, and I'm interested in you guys. That's fine, but the bracelets are $1. I'm interested in serious cash for Ken to be able to utilize to go to these conferences. I really wish we could find someone to get us to sponsor the room in Atlantic City. I don't think that's asking much after what we've done for this industry in the state of New Jersey.
All right.
We got a room at the Sheraton, 2 years ago, Ken? You and I stayed there, walk right downstairs, we were in first thing in the morning. That ended up running us $800-900 for the weekend.
And this time it's at the Atlantic City Convention.
Well, then we go to the other rooms in Atlantic City for the weekend. You're spending the same amount of money. Now, last year we lucked out because one of the Felicia sister happened to have a timeshare in Atlantic City, and she got 2 rooms for us that were $112 a piece. We lucked out with that one, but we don't have any plans to say, okay, we're going to do NECAN again this year. Then, I organized it with Chris every year so far. I know we have something as far as staying there, but we're going to stay close by. We're going to stay across the other side of town. The budget's still going to be, around $800-900 for that weekend. For that's if we just going to have.
I did get
guys sharing. Or are we going to have like last year? We got one room for the gals that they stayed. I had gotten a handful of volunteers to come down to help me out.
I did get an Airbnb for a couple of days for like $300-400.
Okay.
I showed it to you, in fact. I shared it if anyone bothered to.
We looked at it, and I'm pretty sure the funds came up a little bit more expensive than that. But That's okay, because I remember
$500.
running back and forth with you. That ended up being about the same as the hotel.
All right. And
But-
by the way, it's at the Atlantic City Convention Center. It's not at a hotel.
I know that it's the Atlantic City Convention Center. If you've been there, Nick, is right next door to the Sheraton.
Oh,
You
okay.
walk
That's who's,
50 feet and you're in the convention center.
all right.
So
All right.
that's pretty much a hotel. Go to Atlantic City sometime before you start throwing stuff out there.
Well,
Yeah, I
free-
don't
Right
gamble.
there. We go to the other hotels that are out there. You have are all around the place, but it still ends up trying to book a room for how many people do we have that can commit to going, and how many rooms are we going to need? Is it just going to be one room? Are we going to get two, or how you want to do it? Let's get a committee to put together and plan it, because I can do it. Did it before.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to Atlantic City this year. Ed, you got your hand raised?
Yes.
Myself, yes, thank you for finally recognizing, playing by the rules here. Well, one, Mike has jumped onto what I've always said. When you try to raise funds, you want to have a purpose. I like what Jim was talking about. If we were to say, let's say, we're having a fundraising gala at the Unitarian Church, in Titusville, to raise money to help patients get transportation to hearings so they can be voiced. I mean, it's a little less sympathetic if we said, we want to get some casino rooms for a big Atlantic City soiree. But if we say what we're trying to do is participate in conferences, I think if you get targeted purposes, you get people to contribute, and I like the patient we could get Ubers for any patient that wants to come to Trenton to testify,
And
I
you can,
thought
and you
that
can have
help too.
ongoing, with Derek, I got my hand, I just found the yellow hand down here. I didn't know where it was.
Get rid of mine
It can
now.
have multiple overlapping targeted fundraisers. I mean, it's like, fish, meat, or vegetable. You get three different things, and somebody's gonna like one. I'd be patient centric if it were about patients can't afford to go, and some need actual physical support going, and so all sorts of things. And if they could just trust us to spend the money we get as wisely as possible, helping patients get there to finally be heard at the first hearing ever, yada yada yada. I'll tell you, if we had like 6 weeks to do a heavy duty targeted fundraiser to get patients there, and then patients themselves started in public, saying, I'd love to go if I could. That's a wonderful idea. It's a kind of thing that would work, but there's all sorts of things. I mean, if we have a really good idea, it might be worth a targeted fundraiser. Ken, what was it even before? It was simply people would send a donation and say it was for, and I forget what, and it went towards that. And I honestly for the life of me, can't remember what it was, but we could separate the donation that would come in, whether it was just here's for coalition or for, and I can't remember what it's for. I see it's not ringing a bell for you either. I know we did it because I had a couple people do it, and it wasn't like a big money maker or anything. It was just that it was that easy. I mean, it wasn't like a whole separate thing necessary. If somebody can trust us, you just say it's a targeted fundraiser, and when you give us your funds, say, whatever it is they got to say. So it's not really that hard to do. It's more conceptual than having to do anything extra.
We can't get people to remember to ask, hey, you want to buy a t-shirt? Targeting, talking to people, patients doesn't involve, let's have a goal for what it is we're asking for.
Yeah.
Let's have a target, and we put together an actual plan to do it. I think it would be great.
What just got to do is, I mean, what I'm saying is it doesn't take a lot of, okay, now we need a program for that, and we got to get an app, and somebody has to follow and be, it's just, it can be that kind of simple where people know about it, and all. It just needs communication with a donation that it's for a targeted fundraiser. For what? I mean, we did it before. I'm sure it works that easy. I wish I wasn't the dinosaur in the group because I don't know anything about how this would be facilitated, but I'm okay with remembering what can and can't be done though. So, I think we're getting warm with this too. I think the bulb's kind of going off like, really, I don't have money. I'm a sucker for a targeted donation. GoFundMe things. I can't read one. I can't freaking read a GoFundMe thing. Because it's sort of, I can't go into a dog pound. There's certain things I cannot do. And once it's in front of me, and $5 and I have the ability to push a freaking button here and $5 is gone, but I feel better. CMMNJ has that kind of juice, I think. I think we're believed to be that kind of trustworthy, patient-oriented organization. Yeah, we've been pretty careful about having that brand. So I'm just saying, I'll support whatever. How do I support it? What am I going to do? Come on, I don't fit in here. But I love the idea. I think it would.
Well, the GoFundMe was a good idea. I think Mike talked about writing a GoFundMe for to defray some of the expenses associated with any can.
It's targeted fundraiser right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when I was in Asbury Park at the Pride Festival by myself, people would come up to the booth and I would simply say, "Hi, I'm Ken Walsky from CMMNJ. We've been around for 21 years. We helped to get the original medical marijuana bill introduced in 2005 and passed into law in 2010. We endorsed legalization in 2014, and now our goals are insurance coverage for medical cannabis, home cultivation, and hospital access. And your donations will help us to achieve these goals." And nearly everybody donated. It wasn't a lot. It was between $1 and $5. But we wound up making $141 that day. So anyway, that was, people did accept the fact that these general goals were worthy to contribute to our organization because they agreed that these were worthy goals that we were we didn't have to say we're going to get we're trying to get a billboard up in Trenton about home cultivation. We didn't have to get to that specific. We're just fundraising to meet our goals, and these are our goals, and you can help us that. So I mean that was pretty
That's
effective.
Good for $1 and $5, but I like this billboard idea. It's going to cost a lot more.
But what idea?
The billboard idea you had.
Oh yeah.
Is that Ed's idea, the billboard?
Oh, we talked about that some years ago. I think that was legalization. We were going to get a billboard for legalization, I believe. So anyway.
I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting.
It's just about 9 o'clock, so thank you. Unless there's any other business that we haven't attended to, or
Open HDMI too.
Okay. What's that?
I'll get together with Mike on our.
Okay. All right. So thank you all for coming, and you'll let us know about where these videos are. If somebody wants to get to them later, we're now YouTubing our videos, and they're also available on Facebook. So thank you all for coming.
By the way,
we'll
hold
see
on
you next
a
month.
second. The YouTube that I have playing on my television, it's about a minute, or it's definitely way delayed.
Oh yeah,
on what we're doing here.
speed of light.
That's just
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just letting you know.
All right.
Doing YouTube as well. It's not up to sync with what we're talking about here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well, it can, a minute from now, it can see me go, bye.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.